All right, guys. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you guys are here watching the video. So, here's the thing. This video is going to be about the basics of economics. This is the very beginning, first video. Okay, so we're going to take things step by step, go slowly by slowly. And I know it's not that thrilling of stuff to learn about, but you do need to know it. It is the basic stuff of economics. And as time goes on, we'll get to more interesting things. Okay. So before we can get onto that kind of stuff, you have your warm up, which is right here. Um, and I know I usually don't tell you to look at this or that on the warm ups, but this case I kind of have to because there's an old saying on here, and a lot of you guys don't seem to understand what it means. And it says, "It's all Greek to me." Now, that is an old saying basically meaning that they don't understand it. It's like if you saw something in Russian, you wouldn't understand it. You'd be like, what is this trying to say? And you wouldn't even try to read it. That's what that saying means. It's something you don't understand, you don't know what it's saying, so it's just like over your head. Okay, so now just basically break down this picture, now knowing that, and what is this artist trying to say about this particular person and what's in his hands. Okay. So, again, go ahead and do the warm up. Pause the video if you have to, because we're going to be going into the notes in about 3 seconds. All right, so economics. The definition of it is basically the production, consumption, and transfer of wealth. Now, when people think of economics, they usually tend to think of just dollar bills, and that's not really it, you know, because dollar bills are just dollar bills. I mean, there's no really value to it. I mean, it's like basically it's just, you know, paper, it's just really that's all it is, whereas something like gold, silver, that's stuff that is has some type of value because it comes from the earth, and we'll get into that in a second. But the thing is, it's like same thing like of a hoarder, of somebody who hoards things. I'm sure you watch those videos. They have a piece of paper from 1986, and they're like, "Oh, it means so much to me," because they put an emotional value to it. You know, whereas the dollar bills, kind of same thing. We kind of put some type of value into it, but really wealth um, is not just about the actual dollar bills. It's about a whole lot of other stuff. Okay. Now, I did mention just really quickly about gold, because the thing is scarcity. That plays a role in economics, because we don't have an abundance of basically any type of material. We don't have a bunch of gold, a bunch of silver, and I mean enough for everybody. We don't have enough, even like food. We don't even have enough food for everybody, you know. So there is a scarcity on things. Okay, and that's what scarcity is. Not enough of what people want. There's a limited amount. Okay. Now for this part on the wants and needs, basically needs is anything that you need to survive. Okay, and that's where the next part comes in. There's basically three essential needs. There's food, clothing, shelter. Now, wants is basically anything that is not a need. Okay, now here's something that was mentioned in class, and I wanted to make sure that you guys heard this on the video at least, if you weren't in class already. The thing is, some students said something like, "Oh, well, I always needed my Gucci this and that, or my Jordans, this and that, the new Jordans, and it's like, no, no, see, now that makes it a want. A need is basically the minimum of something, okay, whatever it may be, but it gets one of those things: food, clothing, shelter. Okay, do you necessarily need a mansion to live somewhere? No, a simple apartment will do. You know, do you need this 5-course meal and this and that every day? No. A simple sandwich will do, and same thing with clothing. Do you need this fur type of jacket and things like that? No, I mean, a 5.99, sweater in Walmart will keep you warm too. And that's the thing, So anytime there's something luxurious, which is the prices up here, and something that's the basic, it's going to do this job, and the price is down here. This is the need. This up here is the want because you want that brand name. That's when it becomes a want. It's when it's a luxury item. Yeah, it's one of the needs item, but because it has um, a brand name, the price is up here. That does not make it a need. It makes it a want. The need is down here, the basic minimum. You need this to survive. You know, so getting a $200 pair of Jordans, that's a want. You know, getting a I don't know $20 shoe from Payless or Walmart or whatever, that is fulfilling a need because you need those shoes. Okay. Now, producers and consumers. Producers are basically anybody who creates something. Anybody who creates something. You create something, you are producing something, you are making something. It's going out to the market, it's going out to society. Consumers are basically anyone who takes. We are all consumers. Even if you buy something, you are taking it, you're using it. Okay, for whatever reason, you know. So a lot of you guys know about me and my little pop figures. Yeah, I am taking it. I have it. I'm using it. You know. So even if again something easy as food, yes, you're consuming it. Okay, we are all consumers. Okay, all of us. Okay. Now, when it comes to producing, there's three things you got to look at. One, what to produce. Two, how to produce it. And three, or whom are you producing the stuff for? So let's look at the first one, okay? It's what to produce. Now, it's one thing to say, you know what, I'm going to make a McDonald's. Great, but how many McDonald's are there in your town? Now, if there's more than, like, say, let's say 10, you don't need another McDonald's. That's quite a bit. Now let's say you move to another state. Let's say I don't know, let's say Ohio, and you decide, oh, I want to open a In-N-Out burger. That would be something because In-N-Out is not in Ohio. So if you could contact them and tell them, hey, I want to open a In-N-Out here in Ohio, they might take that up because again, there are no In-N-Out, and thing is, people talk about it, so there's that thing like, hey, it might actually do well there. Okay, so what is needed and where? Now, again, maybe in Ohio they may have a bunch of where you're at may have a bunch of hamburger places. Okay, then that may not be a good thing to do. But if people are actually wanting it and willing to pay money for it, it might work out. Okay. The other thing is how to produce. How are you going to produce this stuff? Now, when you produce it, are you going to make a bunch or a little bit? Okay, so going back to my little pop figures, um, if let's say they want to make 10 million little, I don't know, let me grab this first one right here, a little nebula. Okay, let's say they want to make like 10 million of her. Everyone would be able to get one, right? So the price of it would be really, really low. Okay, now let's say, for example, this is the last one. They only made like let's say 100, and a bunch of them got destroyed. This would be worth a lot, because it's the last one, and they're not going to make any more. Then that would make the price of it go high. Okay. So sometimes like you might hear this thing like, oh, there's only a limited edition. Well, how many are being made? Because you could throw that word limited edition all around. But if they're on really only like maybe 5,000 of whatever the item is, that's limited because you have to remember how many people want it, not just here in the United States, but around the world. We're going to want that item. So, yeah, it's first to understand, well, is it really truly limited? And if it is it by time or is it by the actual item? The other thing is like mass producing. Now, I gave this example during class, something like milk. Um, if you say your company doesn't make enough milk, you're like, you know what, we're gonna lower it. We're not gonna make as much. Well, there's like five other companies that make milk, easily. So people are gonna go to them. They're like, well, fine then. You're not making that much. You know, your milk is not that great. You know, it tastes the same as other places. So we're gonna go here. So what they try to do is they try to make more so that the thing that catches people's eye is the price now. So that the price goes down. That's what people go to. Again, milk is milk. So what they'll do is go to this milk because it's cheaper. You know. The other thing that people go to when it comes to producing is, do you have more machines and less people, or less machines and more people? Because thing is, some things, yeah, it's easier with machines because machines are automated. They don't take breaks. They just continue making the same thing over and over again. But the thing is, some things require human touch, human skill to create. So whatever your item is, you need to find something there, you know. So something like, I'm sure you've already seen it at some fast food joints. They have the machine where you put in your order and that's it, because a machine can do that. But can a machine flip a burger, flip fries, things like that? Um, Probably will sometime soon, maybe in the future. But right now, no. Right now, that requires a human touch to be able to move and do things like that, multitask, whereas a machine can only do that one thing more than likely, you know. So the other thing is, whom are you going to produce this stuff for? Who are you targeting? So again, things like right, like here, the little action figure again, um, the Avengers. Okay, who's it targeting? People who like the Avengers, comic book fans, people who like the little pop figures, you know, people like bobbleheads, which is me. So that's who they're targeting. They're not trying to target old, retired people who collect stamps. Obviously, they're not going to be targeting those people because those people like stamps, not pop figures. Um, so, is it specific? Kind of, sort of. Is it in general? Little, because they're offering it to everybody. You see them at the stores all the time. So that's what you have to think about. So, like when you see these commercials on TV or on YouTube, um, look to see who are they targeting. What like age group? Is it for guys, girls? Is it for younger people, middle-aged people, older people? Is it for housewives? Is it work for working moms? Is it for little kids? Is it for teenagers? Is it for college kids? So you have to look at that kind of stuff. You know, and then ultimately, is it a want or a need? Okay, so whatever they're producing, uh, they ask themselves, is this really a want or a need? And if it's a need, you know, um, basically, how do we work with that? And if it's a want, what's the competition? Which we will get to later on, because again, other stuff like shoes and things like that, they try to see where each other's at and they try to outdo each other by getting endorsements from other people, things like that, to try to get their name up there. Okay, so here is your question. And it's, is there anything that you want that costs you or your parents a lot of money? So when I say like a lot of money, I'm talking stuff like over, let's say $500. That's a lot of money. Is there anything you want that costs more than that? Okay. And if not, if all your needs are met and you're like, I don't need much in my life. Um, like myself, I love these things. I love them. They don't cost no $500, and trust me, if they do, I'm not gonna buy it. But something like this, yeah, I want those. I want a new one right now. So that's gonna be me then. There's nothing I want that's really expensive, but smaller price. Yeah, I want one more of those. So what is something that you want? Is it expensive? Is it not expensive? Something you want that either you or your parents can get. Okay. So there's a writing prompt on the bottom. Okay. And I'll give you another couple seconds so you can write this and then, or you can just pause it. Okay. Because we're going to continue on with the notes next. All right. Now, when it comes to factors of production, the things that it requires that are required to make stuff is three things: land, capital, and labor. Now, land is basically what it is: land, natural resources, trees, water, things like that, things that are not made by man. Okay, nature stuff. Because I don't know about you, but I've never seen a building floating in the sky. That makes stuff. Never. Maybe on a video game, but that's about it. Okay. So, yeah, you need land. Another thing you need is capital. Now, capital is an interesting thing because this is basically tools and equipments and any type of machinery that is used to create your product. Okay. Um, Even to like sell it, stuff like a telephone could be considered capital, because you got to sell the stuff, you use it. Um, the last one is labor. Labor is people. Okay. So when you hear all this labor, that's not, they're talking about people. This means people's efforts, their skills, and their abilities. That is what they're talking about. And that's when we talk about more machines, less machines, or more people, less people, things like that. Because um, a person's skills plays a huge role in, especially if something being made. Um, like example, making leather. It requires a lot of hands-on stuff. You know, um, Fixing a car, it takes a lot of hands-on stuff. Making a car, yeah, the machines can do it, but to actually fix it, find out the problem, analyze it, and then do what needs to be done, that is labor. That takes skills and abilities. Now, this word is one that a lot of these businessmen like to use. It's called entrepreneurs. Now, these people are responsible for a change in the economy. There, a lot of them are inventors, things like that. So, like people like Steve Jobs, that's an entrepreneur. Bill Gates, entrepreneur. You know, um, but the thing is, they do things to create jobs. They create products that people want, that's going to sell, and things like that. Um, it doesn't necessarily mean somebody who has a business and they just want to keep money to themselves. Entrepreneurs really move on and try to expand and grow their empire, their business, things like that. They just don't hold on to their money. They try to build more and more and more. Invest in new things. Um, with new technologies in, try to incorporate that into their business and things like that. Now, again, production is the creation of goods and or services. So something like even being a waiter, you know, that's a service. You're getting paid. People are paying to go to a restaurant and being served their food. Okay. Now, a large part of our jobs in this country are service jobs. Okay. So just remember that. Okay. They'll probably be on a Kahoot quiz later on. All right. Now, you will hear this thing a lot on the news where they talk about financial stuff, the GDP. That means gross domestic product. This is basically what a country has made in a year. Okay, now this is stuff that we've made, everything from, the simplest little thing of cotton up until, um, Snuggies and CDs and things like that. Things that we made in this country in the past year. Now, an analysis basically tells how well a company or a state or country is doing economically. Okay. Now you'll see it's a lot of numbers. If you ever look at analysis of a company or a state, if you look up California's analysis numbers on our economy, it's big. How much money we're making selling our milk, our cheeses, our crops, things like that to people not just here but around the world. Um, it's pretty big, and you can always look that stuff up online. Now, this is one of my favorite things that ever happened. This part right there, the explanation. Okay, because one of my favorite stories is back in the day, Coca-Cola actually changed their formula to their Coca-Cola drinks, and it ticked people off because they're so used to a certain drink for so long that when they changed it, the people are like, "Oh, what is this? This is nasty," and things like that. So the sales of Coca-Cola was going up here, and all of a sudden it just dropped down, right? And the people were like, the shareholders were like, "Oh, tell us you're fixing this," because they're losing money on these stocks. They're like, "Tell us you're fixing this," and they're like, "Yeah, well, um, the reason why we've been doing bad is because we changed the formula, as you guys know, and yeah, we're going to go back to the original, you know." So they did. So now a lot of companies looked at their example and go, "You know what, you know, we're not gonna like change the whole system thing. What we're gonna do is like we'll keep the same." Like Pepsi, great example. Pepsi learned from them and they kept the regular Pepsi. They kept diet and all this stuff. And then they came out with like a Pepsi Clear and they still kept the Pepsi, but they just brought out the Pepsi Clear. And if people liked it, they would continue on with it. If they didn't and it went down, there it went. But still, they had that Pepsi that people liked and they could go to. Okay. And you see this all the time with drinks, with chips, with other type of food. They'll keep their their money maker. Whether it's like Doritos or whatever, they'll keep the ones that they make money off, like nacho cheese and things like that. And then they'll bring out this new flavor. Try this. And then usually they'll have a sale on it, things like that. It's like, oh, you know, try it out, and based off those sales, if people actually like it, then they'll continue making it, and it'll become another part of that branch. And that's why we have the Blaze, the Cool Ranch, and all those other ones. Because people like them. But if they don't like it, they're just going to drop it. Okay. Now, prediction. This is basically an educated guess based off data. That's a key word, based off data. That helps predict the future. Now, thing is, it's like if your first grading period you did really well, second period grading period you did really well, third grading period you did even better than that time. Well, you're going up, so it's pretty safe to say that the next grading period you're going to go even better because um, you've been going that trend of going up. Now, unless something catastrophic happens, there should be no deviation from going up. Should just go that way. Same thing in reverse. If you start out well and you're going down, you're going down, you're going down, it's basically easy to see that the next grading period you might go down. Okay. Um, so that's what it is. A prediction, educated guess based off data. So, with that being said, this is the end of the video. I hope you learned something new today. Um, we're going to be continuing on next class about supply and demand and things like that. We'll be taking it very slow because I want you guys to understand this stuff because it is important, believe it or not. But like I said, we will skip that really boring stuff, that stuff that's not you're not really going to use unless you're an economist. But the basic, simplistic form of economics we will go over, and we're going to go over it again and again and again because it is important, especially when you get into the real world and you get your job and some of that. Okay, so you guys have a good day. Take care and be safe.